What if the child stars you grew up watching were hiding a truth that could have cost them everything? Behind the red carpets, the applause, and the perfect smiles, some of Hollywood's brightest young black actors were fighting battles the world never saw. Secrets, rejection, scandals, courage. Today, in 25 black child actors who are LGBTQ+ you didn't know about then and now 2026, we're uncovering the untold journeys of fame, fear, and fearless authenticity. Before we begin, hit like, subscribe, and stay with us, because some of these stories will truly shock you. Billy Porter, from rejection to royalty. Before the Emmys, before the velvet suits and red carpet crowns, Billy Porter was just a gifted black boy in Pittsburgh with a voice too big for the room and a truth too dangerous for his home. He sang in church, acted on tiny stages, and dreamed in colors louder than the world around him would allow. But at 17, after one triumphant performance, the applause faded and reality struck. His family found out he was gay. In a house shaped by rigid faith and fear, there was no room for a son like him. So they handed him an ultimatum. And just like that, Billy walked out with an old backpack, a few dollars, and a heart split wide open. New York didn't greet him with comfort. It tested him. Auditions, rejection, hunger, loneliness. Each day asked him if he would shrink to survive. But Billy refused. He turned pain into power, grief into grit. He studied. He fought. He performed like every role was a declaration. You will see me. Years later, when he stepped into the role of Pray Tell and Pose, he wasn't acting. He was channeling every tear he had swallowed. The character's defiance mirrored his own. And when he made history as the first openly gay black man to win an Emmy for lead actor in a drama series, the moment felt bigger than a trophy. It was vindication. But the most powerful victory wasn't on stage. It was quieter. A tearful reconciliation with his mother. A home rebuilt not from denial, but from truth. Today, Billy stands not just as an icon of fashion or film, but as proof that rejection does not get the final word. When the world tries to exile you, sometimes the only way forward is to become undeniable. And Billy Porter did exactly that. Coleman Domingo, loving in the shadows, shining in the light. Long before the awards buzz and standing ovations, Coleman Domingo was a young man in Philadelphia who found refuge in the theater. On stage, he was fearless, commanding, magnetic, fully alive. But off stage, in the quiet corners of his life, he carried a secret that felt too fragile for the spotlight. As a black man coming of age in an industry that often demanded perfection and punished difference, Coleman understood the risk. He poured his truth into characters, into scripts, into stories about resilience, but guarded his own heart with precision. Then he met Raoul. What began as a chance encounter grew into a love deep, steady, and transformative. Yet for 9 years, their relationship lived behind closed doors. No red carpets together. No public affection. No headlines. Just stolen glances and whispered reassurances that someday, maybe someday, the world would be ready. But fear is exhausting. And hiding love begins to feel like hiding oxygen. In 2020, during a simple Instagram Live, Coleman made a choice that would redefine everything. With a soft smile and a voice edged with vulnerability, he turned the camera toward Raoul and said he was in love. No grand speech. No dramatic reveal. Just truth. Raw and unfiltered. The reaction wasn't backlash, it was embrace. Messages of support flooded in. Friends, colleagues, fans, people who had admired his work now admired his courage. And something shifted. The fear that once wrapped around his career dissolved. His performances deepened. His presence expanded. Living openly didn't dim his light, it intensified it. Today, in New York, Coleman and Raoul share a life built not on secrecy but on celebration. And Coleman continues telling stories about survival, identity, and love, not as someone imagining freedom, but as someone finally living it. Because sometimes the bravest role an actor can play is simply themselves. Michael K. Williams, a love the world never saw. To the world, Michael K. Williams was unforgettable. The scar across his face, the quiet intensity in his eyes, Omar Little in The Wire, fearless, unpredictable, legendary. He redefined what a black, queer-coded character could look like on screen. But while millions praised his bravery in fiction, few knew how carefully he guarded his own truth in real life. Brooklyn raised him tough. The streets taught him survival. Dance gave him escape. Acting gave him voice. But love? Love was something he held close to his chest. For over a decade, Michael shared his life with a man outside the industry. Their relationship wasn't splashed across tabloids or confirmed in interviews. It existed in late-night phone calls, quiet dinners, private laughter, and the safety of hidden corners. It was real. It was deep. But it was silent. In an industry that often commodifies identity, Michael feared that visibility might come at a cost: roles, reputation, respect. Then in 2012, tragedy shattered everything. His partner died suddenly in a car accident. Grief has a way of pulling truth into the light. A memorial post revealed what even close friends hadn't fully known: that Michael had been living a love story the world never saw. The revelation wasn't scandal, it was heartbreak. Colleagues mourned not just the loss of a partner, but the weight Michael had carried alone. And for the first time, he spoke publicly about love that burned in silence. There was no regret in his voice, only honesty. After that loss, something changed. His work became even more raw, more human. He chose projects that reflected struggle, identity, pain, and redemption, not from a distance, but from experience. When Michael passed in 2021, he left behind more than iconic roles. He left behind proof that vulnerability is strength. The world saw Omar, but the quiet courage of Michael's private love? That may have been his most powerful story of all. Wilson Cruz, thrown out, but never broken. In the mid-90s, Wilson Cruz became the face of vulnerability for a generation. On My So-Called Life, he played a gay teenager with a softness that felt revolutionary. He wasn't a stereotype. He wasn't a punchline. He was real. But while America applauded his courage on screen, Wilson was living a far more painful story off it. At 18, before the fame fully settled in, Wilson made a choice that would change everything. He came out publicly. Not in whispers. Not in coded language. But openly. Honestly. He believed that truth would bring freedom. What he didn't expect was the cost. His father couldn't accept it. Arguments turned into distance. Distance turned into exile. And one day, with a small suitcase and nowhere certain to go, Wilson found himself without a home. The irony was cruel. America embraced him while his own family turned away. He waited tables, cleaned buildings, scraped together tuition money. Fame didn't protect him from survival, but rejection didn't shrink him. It refined him. Friends in the arts became his chosen family. Fans wrote letters saying his character gave them courage to live. Claire Danes and colleagues stood beside him publicly. And slowly, Wilson transformed pain into purpose. He leaned into roles that told honest stories about identity. He refused to disappear. Years later, something unexpected happened. His father, after nearly a decade of silence, broke down. Regret replaced pride. Tears replaced anger. And in a quiet, fragile moment, father and son began rebuilding what had been shattered. Today, Wilson Cruz is more than an actor. He is an advocate, a speaker, a symbol of resilience. He stands in classrooms and community centers reminding young people that being cast out is not the end of your story. Because sometimes being thrown out of one house is the first step toward building your own. Daryl Stevens, the letters that changed everything. Before he became a groundbreaking face of Black LGBTQ+ representation on Noah's Ark, Daryl Stevens was just a young boy in Pasadena who loved the stage. School plays felt safer than real life. Under the lights, he could be anyone. Off stage, he was still learning how to be himself. By his 20s, Daryl knew exactly who he was, but he wasn't sure the people he loved could handle it. His mother, traditional and protective, had always been his anchor. The thought of disappointing her weighed heavier than any industry pressure. So he kept quiet. He dated in secret. He loved in silence. He built walls around his heart and called it protection. Then one afternoon in 2004, everything unraveled. His mother found a stack of handwritten letters hidden in his room. Love letters. Plans for a future. Words filled with tenderness for a man she didn't know existed in her son's life. The house fell into a silence so thick it felt suffocating. No shouting. No dramatic confrontation. Just a quiet fracture between mother and son. At the same time, Daryl was portraying bold, confident queer love on screen, becoming a symbol of pride for thousands. Online forums praised his bravery. Fans called him a hero. But at home, he felt like a stranger. 2 years later, when Daryl officially came out in an interview, something shifted. His mother attended a screening of Noah's Arkansas. She watched the love, the vulnerability, the humanity. And afterward, with tears in her eyes, she embraced him, apologizing for the distance fear had created. That hug wasn't just reconciliation. It was release. Today, Daryl Stevens lives openly in Los Angeles, speaking across the country about authenticity and family healing. His story proves that sometimes the truth arrives quietly, in ink on paper, and even when it shakes the foundation, love can still rebuild the house. Because the letters that once caused silence became the bridge back to acceptance. Jussie Smollett. From spotlight to storm. Jussie Smollett grew up in front of the camera. From the Mighty Ducks to the global success of Empire, his path looked destined for greatness. As Jamal Lyon, he didn't just play a gay black artist, he embodied one. Vulnerable, bold, unapologetic. For many viewers, he wasn't just a character. He was representation that felt powerful and overdue. Off-screen, Jussie stood proudly in his identity. He spoke about love, about visibility, about standing tall in a world that often pushes queer voices into corners. His career was rising fast, his music gaining traction, his presence magnetic. Then came 2020. What began as a report of anonymous threats quickly spiraled into one of the most divisive controversies in modern entertainment. Headlines exploded. Support flooded in, then doubt followed. Investigations deepened. Narratives shifted. The public turned from sympathy to suspicion in record time. Suddenly, the same spotlight that once celebrated him felt like interrogation. Roles disappeared. Projects stalled. Conversations grew louder and harsher. The industry that had embraced him stepped back. And Jussie, once at the center of cultural momentum, found himself retreating to New York, away from the noise. But collapse isn't always the end of a story. In the quiet, he turned inward. Poetry, independent music, creative expression without cameras or commentary. Whether seen as victim or villain, one thing remained true: his identity, once a symbol of pride, now carried the weight of controversy. And yet he didn't erase it. He didn't deny who he was. Jussie's journey is complicated, messy, unresolved in the public eye. But beneath the headlines lies a human being who rose, fell, and continues to create. Because sometimes the hardest thing isn't coming out. It's standing back up when the world decides to knock you down. Justice Smith. A quiet reveal that echoed loudly. Justice Smith never seemed like someone hiding in fear. On screen, he radiated ease, charismatic, thoughtful, quietly magnetic. From blockbuster franchises to indie dramas, his career was climbing fast. But behind the calm exterior was a truth he carried carefully, unsure when or how to let the world see it. In 2020, while his name was gaining serious traction in Hollywood, Justice made a decision that didn't involve a press tour or a magazine cover. No dramatic announcement. No carefully crafted PR strategy. Instead, he chose something simple, intimate. A short TikTok video. In it, he's holding hands with his boyfriend, Caleb J. Parker. No spectacle. Just two people standing together. The caption read, "This is me and this is my love." That was it. But simplicity can be seismic. Within hours, the clip spread across social media. Fans were stunned. Some celebrated him instantly. Others reacted with confusion, even resistance. The internet did what it always does. It debated. It dissected. It labeled. But Justice didn't argue. He didn't over-explain. After years of moving quietly through an industry that often forces young black actors into narrow boxes, he chose to exist outside of one. Fully. For him, this wasn't about headlines. It was about breath. About no longer editing himself in interviews. About no longer worrying who was watching when he loved someone. And something remarkable happened. His career didn't stall, it expanded. His performances grew more layered, more grounded. Living openly didn't distract from his talent, it deepened it. His relationship became visible, steady, unashamed. Justice Smith proved that sometimes the most powerful declarations aren't shouted. They're whispered. A hand held in public. A quiet caption. A refusal to hide. Because authenticity doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes, it arrives softly and changes everything anyway. Jabari Banks, rewriting the Prince. Jabari Banks didn't just step into a role, he stepped into legacy. When he was cast as Will in Bel-Air, the dramatic reimagining of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, expectations were massive. The character was iconic, cultural, untouchable, and for many fans, sacred. But Jabari wasn't interested in imitation. Raised in Philadelphia, sharpened by theater, poetry, and discipline, he understood what it meant to carry both heritage and individuality. So when interviews began circulating in 2023 suggesting that his version of Will reflected a more openly queer identity, one rooted in freedom and self-definition, the backlash was immediate. Fans argued he was altering history, that he was betraying the original spirit of the character. Social media exploded with debates about authenticity versus tradition. For some, Will Smith's legacy felt rewritten without permission. But for Jabari, this wasn't about shock value. It was personal. He didn't want to portray a character trapped by expectations, just as he refused to be. In an Instagram live that crackled with tension, he looked directly into the camera and said, "If you can't love a Will who lives true to himself, then maybe you never truly loved him." It wasn't defiance. It was clarity. Behind the scenes, pressures mounted. Producers, commentators, cultural gatekeepers. But Jabari held firm. He believed that evolution isn't disrespect, it's reflection. And representation isn't distortion, it's expansion. Today, while critics still debate, Jabari continues forward. Poetry in one hand, martial arts discipline in the other, grounded in Philadelphia, but carving his own path in Hollywood. Because sometimes honoring a legacy doesn't mean preserving it untouched. Sometimes it means daring to let it grow. Jaden Smith, born into fame, choosing freedom. Jaden Smith was born into spotlight royalty. The son of Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith, his life unfolded under cameras long before he could define himself. From the pursuit of happiness to the Karate Kid, he grew up as America's wide-eyed prodigy, talented, sensitive, destined. But destiny for Jaden was never about following a script. As he grew older, he rejected Hollywood's invisible rules. He blurred fashion lines, challenged masculinity, questioned tradition. Critics called it rebellion. He called it authenticity. And while the world debated his style and philosophy, Jaden was quietly exploring something deeper: love. In 2019, at a buzzing music festival, he took the stage and made a declaration that rippled across headlines. "I'm in love," he said, naming fellow artist Dylan. The crowd gasped. Social media ignited. Was he serious? Was it performance art? Was it truth? Soon after, footage surfaced of the two sharing quiet, meaningful moments, glances that felt too real to dismiss. Speculation turned into conversation. And once again, Jaden refused to clarify with neat labels. He lived fluidly, openly. Behind closed doors, even the Smith household had to adjust. Will, protective and traditional in his own way, reportedly needed time to process. Jada, long an advocate for self-expression, stood firm in support. Publicly, she said she was proud her son never hesitated to be himself. Will later admitted he was still learning from his own child. That was the real shift. Jaden didn't just challenge public norms, he expanded his family's understanding of identity. Through scrutiny and commentary, he kept creating music, acting, building businesses. He didn't shrink. He evolved. Because for Jaden Smith, freedom was never rebellion. It was inheritance, redefined on his own terms. Miles Brown, growing up in front of the world. America met Miles Brown when he was just a kid with sharp comedic timing and effortless charm on Blackish. As Jack Johnson, he was funny, innocent, relatable, the kind of child star audiences feel like they grow up with. Week after week, families invited him into their living rooms. He became part of the cultural fabric. But growing up in front of millions means your evolution doesn't happen in private. Behind the laughter and bright studio lights, Miles was navigating something far more personal. As he entered his teens, the image fans adored, the playful, wholesome TV son, began to feel limiting. He was changing, discovering himself, questioning who he was outside the character everyone loved. In 2023, everything accelerated. A candid selfie of Miles with another young man surfaced online before he had the chance to speak on his own terms. The image spread fast. Headlines followed. Speculation became confirmation. And suddenly, the child audiences once saw as innocent was being judged through an entirely different lens. When he officially came out as gay at a high-profile event, reactions split down generational lines. Younger fans, especially Gen Z, celebrated him instantly, praising his courage and authenticity. But some older viewers struggled. They clung to the version of Miles they thought they knew, uncomfortable watching him grow beyond their expectations. Miles didn't retreat. Instead, he shifted. He poured himself into music, carving a new identity not as a sitcom kid, but as an artist. "Music is my freedom," he said, a place where he could tell his own story without a laugh track. In New York and Los Angeles, he built a sound that felt personal, unfiltered, honest. He proved something powerful: child stars don't belong to the audience forever. They grow. They change. They become. And for Miles Brown, stepping out of the character the world loved was the first step toward becoming the man he truly is. Keenan Lonsdale, the message before the world knew. Before the headlines, before the tweets, before the applause, Keenan Lonsdale made a different choice. He didn't call a press conference. He didn't leak a statement. He pressed record. At just 13, Keenan had already stepped into performance. By the time he became Wally West in The Flash and later starred in Legends of Tomorrow, he was a global face of heroism, fast, confident, untouchable. On screen, he saved cities. Off screen, he was still learning how to save himself. For years, he wrestled quietly with identity. Fame magnified everything. The superhero image came with expectations: masculine, polished, conventional. And while he smiled for premieres and Comic-Con stages, a deeper truth sat heavy in his chest. Then in 2018, while filming Love, Simon, a story centered on a young man coming out, something shifted. Playing a character orbiting a story about queer love forced him to confront his own silence. Art mirrored life too closely to ignore. So instead of announcing it to the world, he sent a private video to the cast and crew. 3 minutes. Honest. His voice trembling as he spoke about accepting himself. About being ready. About no longer pretending. When the video ended, the room was silent. Then came tears. Applause not for a performance, but for truth. Days later, he posted publicly, "I'm ready to be myself." The internet responded with overwhelming support. Fans from the DC universe, from teen dramas, from around the world rallied behind him. And something unexpected happened. His light didn't dim. It expanded. Keenan eventually stepped away from the superhero world, not in defeat, but in liberation. He turned toward music, writing, creativity that felt personal rather than performative. He relocated, slowed down, found peace in meditation and painting. Because sometimes the most heroic act isn't flying across the sky. Sometimes it's standing still long enough to say, "This is who I am." Alex R. Hibbert, the moment that broke the silence. Alex R. Hibbert was never loud. From the moment audiences saw him in Moonlight, there was something quiet and powerful about him, an intensity that didn't need volume. He wasn't the type chasing headlines or red carpets. He moved carefully, deliberately, protecting his peace in an industry that devours young talent. For years, his private life stayed exactly that, private. No rumors, no scandals, no interviews hinting at anything beyond his craft. He let the work speak. And it spoke beautifully. Then in the summer of 2023, one blurry photo changed everything. Paparazzi captured a fleeting moment. Alex sitting at a beachfront cafe in Miami, leaning close to another young man. A smile, a touch, a softness that felt intimate. The image hit the internet within hours. Speculation spread like wildfire. This time, there was no hiding behind silence. But Alex didn't deny it. He didn't draft a statement. He didn't blame the intrusion. Instead, he posted 7 words on Instagram. "This is me and I'm happy." No explanations. No labels. Just peace. Fans flooded his page with support, admiration, relief. But the loudest reaction wasn't online, it was at home. While friends and colleagues offered warmth, his family responded with something colder. Silence. Not anger. Not public rejection. Just distance. A void where affirmation should have been. For many, that kind of quiet can feel louder than shouting. Alex didn't retaliate. He redirected. He stepped away from Hollywood's glare and enrolled in university to study directing. He began crafting independent films, participating in community art workshops in Chicago, building spaces where stories like his could exist without spectacle. That paparazzi photo could have fractured him. Instead, it clarified him. Because sometimes when the world exposes your truth before you're ready, the bravest thing you can say is, "I'm happy." Ryan Jamal Swain, overheard, then unafraid. Ryan Jamal Swain always carried fire in his movement. From small-town stages to the cultural phenomenon of Pose, he embodied Damon with a rawness that felt almost autobiographical. On screen, Damon was a young black queer man thrown out of his home, forced to survive, to dance, to define himself in a world that didn't know where to place him. Audiences saw courage, defiance. But off-screen, Ryan was still guarding parts of his own story. For 4 years, he nurtured a relationship quietly. No public dates, no interviews, no confirmation. Fame had come fast, and with it, scrutiny. He told himself privacy meant protection. Then one afternoon during rehearsal, everything shifted. A lighting director accidentally overheard a phone call. Soft words, affectionate laughter, a tone that said more than secrecy ever could. Rumors began to ripple through the set. Ryan braced for judgment, for whispers, for distance. Instead, something unexpected happened. He received hugs. Crew members smiled. Co-stars affirmed him. No scandal, no rejection, just warmth. The fear he had been carrying dissolved in a single moment of acceptance. Soon after, in an interview with Out magazine, Ryan said the words that marked his turning point. "I choose to live for myself." It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't defiant. It was liberating. He didn't just play a character who found freedom. He stepped into his own. In New York, he continued choreographing, mentoring young black artists, pouring energy into community spaces that uplifted queer youth who needed to see someone like them thriving. Ryan's story proves something powerful. Sometimes the moment you fear being exposed is the moment you realize you were never alone. And once that fear disappears, there's nothing left to hide. Asante Black. No apologies, no permission. At 18, Asante Black had already captured global attention with When They See Us. His performance was powerful, layered, unforgettable. Hollywood saw promise. Audiences saw brilliance. But just as his star began to rise, a shadow followed. An anonymous social media account, claiming to be an old classmate, started dropping vague hints about his sexuality. No proof, no context, just whispers amplified by algorithms. The internet did what it always does: speculate first, verify later. Asante could have denied it, stayed silent, let publicists handle the storm. Instead, he opened TikTok. Looking directly into the camera, calm and steady, he said, "I am who I am, and I'm proud of that." No speech, no defense, no apology. The video spread instantly. Support poured in from fans. But some childhood friends quietly distanced themselves. No confrontation, just absence. Asante didn't chase approval. He returned to Baltimore, studied communications, and began producing short films tackling race, identity, and social injustice. Because for Asante Black, validation never came from headlines. It came from looking in the mirror and not flinching. Jeremy Pope, faith, fallout, and finding his voice. Jeremy Pope grew up believing faith would always be his foundation. Raised in a conservative religious community, church wasn't just worship, it was identity. Then Broadway found him. Talent carried him to stages lit brighter than any sanctuary, and roles like One Night in Miami proved he was destined for more. But success didn't silence the truth he kept buried. When Jeremy chose to live openly, the backlash wasn't from critics, it was from the church that once embraced him. Doors quietly closed. Familiar faces turned distant. The spiritual home that shaped him no longer felt safe. Instead of shrinking, Jeremy wrote. He acted. He poured pain into poetry and performances layered with vulnerability. Los Angeles became a new beginning, not just geographically, but emotionally. He learned something powerful: faith and identity didn't have to compete. For Jeremy Pope, losing acceptance forced him to build something stronger: self-acceptance. And that stage has no curtain call. Dylan Burnside, the silence before acceptance. Dylan Burnside radiated confidence on pose, bringing ballroom culture to life with grace and strength. On screen, he embodied pride. Off screen, he wasn't sure his own family would feel the same. The truth surfaced unexpectedly. His mother found a video on his phone. In it, Dylan laughed, danced, and shared a tender moment with his boyfriend. No dramatic confession followed. Just silence. Heavy. Uncertain. Days passed without confrontation. No shouting. No rejection. Just space thick with unspoken questions. Then, slowly that silence softened. Conversations began. Understanding replaced shock. His mother chose love over fear. Today, in New Orleans, Dylan channels that freedom into music and community theater. Because sometimes acceptance doesn't arrive with applause. Sometimes it grows quietly after the silence breaks. Dejan Talton, the call that changed home. Dejan Talton charmed audiences on Glee with warmth and effortless energy. On stage, he looked fearless. At home, he was anything but. For 5 years, he kept a part of himself hidden, terrified not of critics, but of his father's reaction. The truth came unexpectedly. A phone call. A soft voice on the other end. His father overheard just enough to understand. There was no explosion. Just silence that stretched for months. Then one evening, his father finally spoke. Questions replaced assumptions. Conversations replaced distance. Slowly, acceptance took shape. Today, Dejan lives openly in San Francisco, teaching dance and making indie music. Because sometimes one overheard moment is all it takes to begin rewriting love at home. Noah Ricketts, singing the truth. Noah Ricketts commanded Broadway as Kristoff in Frozen, his voice powerful enough to fill theaters night after night. Audiences saw confidence. But behind rehearsals and curtain calls, he guarded a quieter truth. One afternoon, during rehearsal, a crew member overheard him singing a song he'd written, soft, intimate lyrics about loving another man. The vulnerability in his voice sparked curiosity. This time, Noah didn't retreat. In 2021, he posted simply, "I live to sing and to love." Support flooded in. Castmates celebrated him. Fans embraced him. Now in Chicago, Noah continues performing openly. Because when your voice is strong enough to carry a melody, it can carry your truth too. Sean Ross, when the leak didn't end him. Sean Ross had already broken barriers in fashion. As a model with albinism, he redefined beauty standards before most brands were ready. By 15, he was walking major runways, becoming the face of global campaigns. Confidence was part of his image. But even trailblazers have secrets. In 2019, a private video of Sean with his boyfriend was leaked online. Within hours, Contracts were questioned. A multimillion-dollar campaign hung in the balance. Executives whispered. Headlines speculated. For a moment, it felt like everything he built could disappear. Instead of retreating, Sean stepped forward. In a candid interview, he declared, "I love and I am proud." No shame. No damage control. The industry didn't collapse around him. It adjusted. Today, Sean dominates both fashion and music production. Because sometimes the thing meant to expose you only reveals how unbreakable you are. Brandon Flynn, choosing truth over image. Brandon Flynn became a breakout star on 13 Reasons Why, captivating audiences with emotional depth and vulnerability. To many fans, he was the charming heartthrob, the image carefully shaped by Hollywood's machine. Then a tabloid published a photo, Brandon holding hands with another man outside a bar. The internet erupted. Fans split between support and disbelief. Some clung to the version of him they thought they knew. Brandon didn't deny it. He didn't deflect. He posted on Twitter, "In 2018, I lived my truth with the love of my life." Simple. Direct. Netflix stood by him. Support outweighed backlash. Because for Brandon, protecting an image was never worth losing himself. They were once children under bright studio lights, smiling, performing, becoming the faces we grew up with. But behind the applause were private battles, silent heartbreaks, and moments of unimaginable courage. Each of these stories proves one thing: authenticity is never weakness, it's power. And living your truth, no matter the cost, can change not only your life, but someone else's too. If even one of these journeys moved you, hit like, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more powerful stories that deserve to be told. Because the bravest role anyone can play is themselves.